We got Gators breakdown here. We know we're business.
Gators breakdown. Because there's never a dull moment in Gator Nation.
The Gators Breakdown podcast is ready to go. I am your host, David Waters. You can find me on social media at GatorDave_SEC. And if you're watching the YouTube version, you already see my esteemed guest, Blake Ruffino, Are You Serious Sports, as he does every year. When Florida and LSU match up, Blake comes on Gators Breakdown and always goes deep dive into LSU. We'll do it right here once again. And what does the super say underneath your name? Blake Ruffino, defender of
Occasionomics. Yeah. So LSU has this guy that does he streams like all the baseball games on YouTube.
Okay.
Well, Florida fans will know who ULL is, Louisiana, because Billy came from there. Well, all of their fan base started like screaming, saying, "Oh, LSU's streaming illegally, and all these people are watching the game, and they're not doing it. They're doing it illegally." And so, poor Occasionomics his YouTube channel had to come down. So I am the rightful defender of Occasionomics.
We have some of those in Planet Gator. Big thanks to him. He puts the replay of the Gator games on, but all the commercials are cut out, all that good stuff, and so.
Well, and that's what he does. And then, like, he got hit with, ULL fans kept hitting him with, like, copyrights and stuff, and it kept coming down. And like you said, for someone in our business,
yeah, it's
like,
great.
It's a big deal because you can watch the whole game in, like, 32 minutes, and you're like,
dude. Then when you learn the YouTube shortcuts, like keyboard shortcuts, all right, fast forward 5 seconds, fast forward 10 seconds, I can just zoom through that thing.
No doubt. And that's what, Occasionomics is so good for. But actually, I just didn't change it, I think, on a last appearance. So it just
okay. I thought there was a message behind it. So but there kind of is, but okay. I got you there.
The defender of what's going to hopefully happen on Saturday night, I hope.
So you come on. And my good friend Brett, he tailgates with us at Harmonic Wood, and he sends me this text. The annual Blake interview tonight saying we're going to go in and Florida's going to win by 3 scores.
Yeah, and then the last
he always jokes with me. He was like, man, Blake talks us up so much. He talks LSU down so much. And
I mean, but the truth was, think about this. So in my defense, Dave, LSU was playing Florida after coming up only passing for 87 yards versus Auburn.
Yep.
In 2023, if you remember, they gave up damn near 800 yards on the ground against Ole Miss. Okay? Then we didn't know Jaden Daniels' status. Remember, Jaden Daniels got knocked out for the game. Garrett Nussmeier earlier that year had thrown 2 interceptions to pick sixes to an FCS team. Okay, so we're like, all right, well, I guess we're really in trouble now. Well, then, that game with Jaden happens. And then last year, when the first time I said, LSU could have life here, we lose. So, Dave, this is what I'm going to say. We're getting blown out by 60, okay? We're losing by 60. DJ Lagway throws 7 touchdowns, okay?
Okay. There we go.
I hope the opposite happens.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, every time we play Florida, just like this time in Louisiana Tech, it's coming off a really bad performance by this team offensively.
Well, and it's funny, you go back to the, kind of when I guess people picked up on that. And you're right, though. Like even before the Jaden Daniels first year, that was the Jaden Daniels coming out party. He had not played like that till LSU played Florida.
No, I mean, Dave, again, Brian Kelly said this at the Heisman Trophy ceremony 2 seasons ago. Get ready for this. Brian Kelly said that they had an offensive meeting about what they need to do moving forward with Jaden in the passing game because it's not good enough. Like they weren't talking about benching him, but they're having the conversations behind closed doors. He says, like, Jaden comes up to him and goes, it ain't happening again. I mean, in his defense, he had 9 drops. Kayshon Boutte had 5 drops. I mean, like, kind of like, you remember the Terrell Owens game in the playoff versus the Packers? He catches that touchdown. It's kind of like that Kayshon Boutte situation. And then it's just like all from there, Jaden was kind of who he was. But it's a lot like this one. Dave, LSU is abysmal on third down.
Yeah.
We can't we couldn't use all the NIL money that we spent this offseason to buy a third down right now. So it comes into a situation that I'm like, all right, well, you're almost dead last in every SEC statistical category. Here we go again.
Okay, there we go. That's kind of sets us up right here because Florida's not too pretty either. So we'll see. We'll see what comes out of this one.
Which one of us is the ugliest on offense at the senior prom?
There we go. So, all right, everybody, hit that like button. You see that thumbs up if you're watching the YouTube version. Hit that like button. That really helps us out. Leave some comments. Subscribe right here on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform as well. And if you want to get even more from Gators Breakdown, hey, go to gatorsbreakdownplus.com. You can join there, get ad-free episodes of Gators Breakdown. You get access to that Discord. It's just kind of popping right now. Just, not too many people happy in there, but it keeps the conversation going, Blake. But hey, there's been some really good conversations in there. Today, still the theme today on the Discord was really deep dive in conversations about Billy Napier's offense. So, of course, there's been a bunch of coaching talk in there too this week. But today's theme was a lot about Billy Napier's offense. So, everybody, if you want access there, gatorsbreakdownplus.com. Hey, every Sunday night, Gators Breakdown members, we have that chat. Gators Breakdown Plus members, we have that chat every Sunday night. So if you want to be taking a part in that, be sure to join Gators Breakdown Plus. All right, and before we get started with Blake, we're heading into week 3, and there's still a lot we don't know about what's happening in college football. Upsets, blowouts. Well, my bookie lets you hit it all. Florida versus LSU, that line's come down a little bit, a couple points, 9.5 to 7.5 now on my bookie. Go bet it there at my bookie, your one-stop sports book and casino in one account, one wallet. You bet football all weekend, and then if you need to get your mind off of, maybe the Gators are playing good, but if they don't play good, get your mind off of it, then you can go hit some casino games there at my bookie. Get in on the NFL action as well. My bookie has it all under one roof: game lines, player props, and more. Get in on the NFL Super Contest and Survivor pools. If you're new to my bookie, use our promo code Gators and get your first bet up to $500. That's fully covered. Make your play. If it doesn't hit, you get it right back with a bet back bonus. No stress, a one-time rollover on the return bet, so you're free to reload and keep firing. Sign up at mybookie.ag with promo code Gators to claim your bet back bonus. All right, Blake, let's get into these LSU Tigers. Blake Ruffino right here. Are you serious sports? And we'll start at quarterback. Garrett Nussmeier, of course, big game against Clemson, La Tech last week, so still a small sample size. Taking the necessary steps for LSU to become that championship contender. I know you probably still got to see more, but still questions about explosion, still, I guess in the way I look at it, if this game plays out a certain way, is there comfortability if the game is on his shoulders?
No, not complete. It depends on which Garrett showed up the first 3 quarters.
Okay.
Because if it's the Garrett that we saw last week, no, heavens to Betsy, no. As my Meemaw would say, heavens to Betsy, no. But if it's the one that shows up against Clemson, Dave, it's the one that shows up against Ole Miss, if it's the one that shows up in the first couple of drives against Alabama, that the one in the SEC championship game to some extent versus Georgia, if that dude shows up, yeah, they got it. Yeah, 1,000%. Dave, there's just been inconsistencies. Like I think that there's been times where he doesn't know where he's seeing or doesn't know where to go with the football, or just thinks that he can make the throw that he can't make, or he undershoots it, overshoots it, whatever. When he's on, he's one of the hottest quarterbacks in the country. The problem is, Dave, is when he's off, he's really off. And that's the part for me that I'm just like, what dude shows up? If the dude that we think that has progressed, if the guy from Clemson shows up with the great decisions that he made, then Dave, I don't have many worries that he can lead you to where you want to go.
Got you there. So, kind of the storyline of this week, at least on your side, I mean, you texted me earlier in the week. You wanted to find out about Caleb Banks. Was Caleb Banks playing for Florida? And look, I mean, part of that is what he did last year. And that was a much better version of the LSU offensive line than, what we think we currently see early in the season. So, obviously, I think that's your concern heading into this game. So definitely a new look LSU offensive line. How far along have they come in 2 games? And is that your key to the game?
1,000%. Getting Braylon Moore, their center from Virginia Tech, back, Dave, I think is he was the offensive lineman in the SEC Player of the Week. He was the National Offensive Lineman of the Week. Well, okay, let's break that down. Peter Woods, hello. Now, Dave, I've said this on our national show, so I'm not coming on a Florida podcast just to like pump everybody up. In January of this year, I said going into the 2025 season, Caleb Banks is my best interior defensive lineman in the country. It's not really based off of what I saw just versus LSU or just off of Ole Miss or whoever it was. It was a plays versus in the beginning of the season too. I'm like, I mean, yeah, okay, they ran the ball away from him, but who in the hell is 88? Like, why is he just disrupting this much stuff? There's no cutback lanes. Okay, so Florida's 25th in the country in run defense at periodic times defensively throughout the year last year. And I'm like, dog, this dude 88 is good. So I think the interior pressure from a guy, Dave, that doesn't want to run, and you know this, it's just such a big deal, right? Like getting that pressure inside your face when he is a guy that, Dave, when he's his best, he takes the 3-step hitch and then he's pushing forward and then he makes the throw. Think of the Ole Miss throw in the back of the end zone when it's a score and they upset Ole Miss. Those are the kinds of things that he wants to do. I think Braylon Moore has shown the consistency at Virginia Tech and here so far, and now getting him back from what we thought was a high ankle sprain, which was not. I think it's big. But, Dave, I do worry about the other parts of the offensive line. Can Tyreek Sapp move to the right side of the defensive line? Can they move him around? I think him being against the right tackle and Weston Davis is more beneficial. So we'll see. But the big deal here, and I think didn't he get a sack? He moved to the right side of the defensive line or wherever he was. He got the sack for y'all against South Florida, if I'm not mistaken. But look, man, it is my biggest worry. And it's not just my biggest worry in protecting Garrett. It's my biggest worry in the run game, right? Like the interior is where you got to run it, and those dudes are really physical. You talked about this and about how some guys left from y'all's defensive line last season. Well, Dave, I mean, with all due respect, again, Jack Pyburn's been really good in the run game, like exceptionally good. Okay,
and we like him there too,
right? Well, and what I'm saying is think of that, and that dude was an SEC starter and went somewhere else. That dude was a backup role player for you. Like if you quantify that, okay. So what is the potential of your defensive line? So yeah, it's the biggest concern by far. If number 5 were still back there, no, he's just going to run away from you. But number 18's back there, so yeah, it kind of terrifies me.
See, and Blake, I'm so glad you brought that up. And look, we haven't really been too happy, at least with the havoc rate and pressure rate and getting sacks in these first couple of games. But I think when you look at it, this is the first offense. Now LIU coming with a shotgun triple option type, and then we know Brown and USF. I mean, this might lend itself at least to a better matchup where you don't have a quarterback that can escape the pressure that Florida might get.
Well, and Brown, I mean, Dave, wasn't it the Pro Football Focus stat of the week? Like how many tackles did he broke in the second half? Wasn't it like 13? I mean, if that is the case, okay, just assuming that they're right. I have no idea that if they are or not. But I mean, Garrett's not going to do that. He's just not going to. So again, getting those sacks, Dave, are going to be a big deal. Getting pressure on him, a big deal. And that's really why I think in that Clemson game, you saw LSU be ultra conservative and get the ball out quickly. The problem, Dave, is when they weren't and they didn't go quick, it opened up Aaron Anderson. It opened up Barion Brown. And they got elite speed. They have 2 guys that can run 4.2. You know, the Bruce Feldman freak list with Chris Hilton running 23.7 miles per hour. I mean, they got speed now. And it's typical LSU level speed. So but Dave, I don't know if he's going to have that much time to throw the football. So that's where I lean with is South Florida's offensive line better than LSU's? I can't believe I'm saying that, but you might be in a situation where you can make an argument based on what they've done the first 2 weeks.
So you mentioned the run game a bit and some concerns because of the offensive line.
Yep.
I still like the potential of Caden Durham and what he flashed last year. But of course, a name that we kind of got a little familiar with because of his connection to running back coach Jabbar Jalouk is freshman Harlan Berry. And he had a big run late last week as well.
Yes.
In that game we've seen some explosive runs from that group, but I guess kind of like going everywhere else, the word consistency.
Yeah, I mean, Dave, I thought in the second half versus Clemson, as an example, they had two 15-yard runs by Caden Durham that got called back for holding. And they ran right at Peter Woods. Now, do we think Peter Woods is overrated? I don't know. I don't think he is. But consistency. And then, Dave, I kind of just felt like they didn't really give a Rudy Poo last week about being there. But it gives me concern. And I think that when Caden has broken off big runs, it's because he's been a special athlete. Like, I mean, everybody watched the Clemson game. I would assume. I mean, the first run is him getting hit, keeping his hand on the ground, not touching the ground, getting up, reversing field, and going for 25. If he falls down when he gets hit, dang, that's a tackle for loss. So you can't take that for granted. So I have faith that they can get some explosive runs. What's interesting about LSU's run game is what they've done. Motioning Xavier Thomas back in the backfield, getting Barion Brown touches and some reverses and things like that. They've been very creative. The problem is that when shit's going to hell in a handbasket, it's going to hell in a handbasket, and it's been really bad. So either you're getting 10, 15-yard runs and you're just breaking a gap wide open, or you're getting stuffed at the line of scrimmage. It's basically been their run game.
Gotcha. So at wide receiver for LSU, there is a familiar face. You've mentioned him a couple of times, Barion Brown. At Kentucky, Florida's faced him there. Certainly thought Kentucky couldn't take advantage of him, so he goes somewhere that probably can take advantage of him. And he's found a nice spot. 13 catches, 119 yards in 2 games, and now only 5 for 25 against Clemson, but almost had that. Coulda, shoulda, would have been a touchdown called back. So
I clarified that was a great touchdown, Dave, myself. There's no way, anyway.
It was a touchdown to me. So
right.
So, but that was a great 30-yard touchdown that should have been. And then Aaron Anderson, 14 for 172. So a pretty good duo right there so far.
Yeah, they've been good. And look, Barion, of the 5 from 25 for Clemson, I can make the argument, Dave, the biggest 5 catches of the night. And so one of those catches went for -7. So it was like the bad screenplay that they hit. And so I don't think he should have been a little bit better than that. But I mean, 3 of the catches came on third down where he broke a tackle and his elite speed got away. And Dave, y'all seen him at Kentucky. You know exactly who he is. Ole Miss knows exactly who he is after what happened last season. So the thing with Barion Brown, they almost hit this last week, but Nuss just massively underthrew it. Can you get him vertical, Dave? Because, again, Chris Hilton, what teams have done, and I haven't really talked about this on the LSU side because you don't want to talk about stuff that defenses are taking away because you want to get the things that you can hit on. What teams have done so far, both of them, is when Chris Hilton has been out in the field, number 3, the wide receiver, who's, last year there was a guy that jumped too early in the game. Remember on the fade route and BK chewed him out, the thing that went viral, whatever. So teams have doubled him to some extent because they know he's going vertical. So they've shaded a safety to him, and they just know he's going deep. What's happened with Barion Brown is there's been inconsistency between Garrett and him on some situations. The question, so when they score that they scored the touchdown. When the touchdown got called back, let's break it down. They were so terrified of number 3 and Aaron Anderson that it opened up Barion. So what I'm interested to see here, Dave, in this one, now that Barion's kind of gotten going and you know that he can get vertical, does Roberts and company shade that to him and say, you know what? No, this kid's made plays on us. We're going to take away number 6. Chris Hilton, go out there and beat us. That's what I think Florida's going to have to do, right? Like, no, Barion, no way. No way, Jose. Wag your finger like Makembe Mutombo. No way. Go out there and take 6 away and let Aaron and Chris have to beat you. And I think that if it were me as a Florida fan, that's what I would do. Make another receiver besides 6 or 1 beat you.
And to that point, and you briefly brushed by it for a second, but both those guys breaking tackles so far in the first couple games.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron Anderson, listen, he might be 5'8", and listen, BK gave us 14 practices this year. Full practices, Dave, okay?
Must be nice.
It is very nice. So I want BK to stay here forever. That's why I want him to win multiple natties, because we get to go to practices. But here's what I've learned. If he's 5'8", 5'9", I got a six-pack of abs, okay? He ain't no 5'8". All right? Here's what I do know. His leverage, he was third in the SEC last year from receivers and breaking tackles. He's 5'8". Yeah. You better not play with him. Aaron's a really good receiver, man. I mean, he really is. He's that 5-star receiver from Louisiana. They got to get him going more. He missed all of camp, Dave. I mean, he was out.
And to your point about his size and stuff, as much as you're talking good about him, that's not your traditional LSU, name receiver.
Yeah, name a receiver that's been under 6 foot.
Right.
Yeah, it did. I mean, Odell Beckham's the only one.
Yeah.
So I mean,
but if I say, and it didn't really. He played bigger than that.
No doubt. Yeah. This dude plays bigger than that, and so they got to find – you talked about this last night on my show. Some of the connected, with Lagway, just kind of like, hey, you kind of hadn't gotten into the game rep portion yet. You're still kind of working through some things. The connection between Aaron and Garrett is working through some things. They've just missed too much when he's been open. And I think Dave, the question, ironically, for both offenses, who finds it first?
Yep.
Who finds it first? And that's going to be an ultimate question for me. But I do think
or if it's a close game, who finds it last?
Who finds it last? Right. Who
you know what? That might be the same thing. First and last might be the same thing.
Hey, Dave, literally, I told you this. I think the guys over at FanDuel were talking to us about the game, and I texted them, and I'm like, "Hey, 49.5 over under," and he go, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay." I get a text like an hour later, like, dude, did you just bet the under? And I'm like, yeah. Yeah. I'm like, yes. They're not scoring that much. Next morning I wake up, the over-under's at 47.5. I'm like, you bastards. So if anybody's got to say anything, I move the line, okay?
If you're betting, let me point over here to Blake. He's
right. Yeah, I didn't do it, okay? But in all honesty, I just think that this is such a low-scoring game, man. I really do. I think both defenses are really good. I've seen some Florida banter this week talking about the team. You better hold your head up high with that defense. What do you want them to do? Yeah. What do you want them to do, Dave? I mean, they gave up essentially 5 or 6 field goals.
Yep.
You do that, I don't care who you are, dude. I mean, that's a really good performance.
Yeah, and they kind of just started last year and kind of built off of that. So we'll see what comes out of that first
don't do it against us this year, please.
Put it this way: this is the first. When you go back to last year and that winning streak started with LSU, it was a home game, and then LSU and then Ole Miss the very next week was the home game. Mm-hmm. This is the first good team Florida's played on the road since that But, of course, kind of went by the wayside after losing to USF last week. But still, after going with that 4-game winning streak to end last season, this is the first good road team that Florida has faced since that. And hasn't been good on the road for Billy Napier. So,
well, and look, the vibe that I get from fans this week, just to understand what I think Florida's walking into, this. And I'm not bragging on this. It'd be the same going into the swamp. Let's just be real, okay? Dave, I think they're pissed. Just being honest with you. And how this –
LSU or Florida?
LSU.
Okay.
They're for whatever reason, they're pissed. Dude, I went back past there today, saw people – dude, RVs are loaded, son. And I'm like, all right, okay, so this one's serious. And here's the thing, too, that I've heard –
well, Blake, part of that, this was supposed to be a bigger game.
Yeah.
Florida let us down on that.
Very well could be. But here's the thing. This is a talk from LSU fans this week. All right, so we're going to 9 conference games. At least we think we're going to 9 conference games. Florida ain't going to be in there every week. Right. The series tied is 34-1.
Yep.
Okay? They have been talking about that all week. I could show you 10 comments from today's content. They're like, No. We got our asses whooped during the Spurrier years, okay? If we're going to take the lead, we got to take it now. And so that has actually ironically been a little bit of a talking point, the gold game and all that stuff. So it's been because you don't hear that from fan bases, really. Like they're not like what I'm trying to say, I guess, is they're very passionate about this one more than I've seen them in some others. Like Bama was kind of like it didn't have the Saban flair like it normally does with us too. This Florida game, like, no, dog. This one's it. We want Florida. This is a good game, and we want to take it to them.
Blake, good point about the 9-game SEC schedule. There's a good chance Florida LSU maybe not play next year. But what we think, if they don't play next year, they'll play in 27 because apparently, every other year you'll play your non-permanent people. So This could be the last Florida LSU game for, 2 years from now.
Very well could be, Dave.
Yeah. Let's go to the defense track.
I don't think – let me ask you. You think y'all get Georgia, Tennessee, and then who?
Georgia, Tennessee, and then South Carolina or Kentucky. I think that's
what I assume. And I assume that they're giving here's how I take. I think they're giving LSU, A&M, Ole Miss, and Arkansas.
Okay.
Because that's what the baseball schedule was. Now, they did say that, they were going to give them Bama. I just don't think – I think Vandy's going to ironically be the third team for Bama because, of course, it is. But because then you have Tennessee, you have Auburn, and then you have Vandy with them.
Right. And, and as far as balance goes, that's not – that's okay.
Right. Yeah, That's not bad. I mean, LSU kind of gets a little bit favorability with A&M, Arkansas, and Ole Miss, to be real with you. I mean, I'd rather go up against those three than have to play Georgia every year.
Right. I mean, historically, you're right.
Right. Why would I want to do that? I mean, just because Kirby's bowl cut's not really there anymore doesn't mean that he's not still fierce.
And here's the thing, I get it, and it probably will be harder for some SEC teams, but the way the rotation's going to be, and you play, every other year, to me, most of the time the schedules are going to be pretty close. With the way it rotates.
Well, here's the thing, Dave. Like, people keep talking about strength of schedule, and I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. Y'all boo-hooed and cried about Tennessee's schedule a year ago. Okay, so let's take this from outside the SEC for just a quick second, because we're not the only conference. They've had a tougher schedule than Penn State, than Ohio State, than Oregon, than Notre Dame, than all the other non-SEC teams that were in the playoff a year ago. I mean, so I'm thinking to myself, hold on, Self, you're beating Florida in overtime. Later do we find out that, hey, man, this Florida team's got a lot of really good players on it. Indiana didn't face but one of those teams, and that was Michigan before they had to play Ohio State. So, everybody wants to look at the equality inside the SEC. I get that. But at the same time, you got to look at the playoff, in my opinion. Tennessee, soft. Again, they have Bama. They have these tougher opponents that they have to face. And listen, I still think there's going to be a lot of equality in this too, right? I still do, because LSU, Texas in the league, Georgia, Bama, you're going to have to face two of those opponents, Dave, every year, regardless of how it falls. Maybe one year you don't, but that's just how it's going to fall, and you're going to have to get past it.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and it's like you said, one year you don't, the next year you're going to.
Right. You can't worry about that. You got to go play them. Yeah. The only thing I'm mad about is we've already seen them be very beneficial to Texas in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Look at the baseball schedule. Look at the basketball schedule. Every ranked opponent in baseball went to them. So what they're going to – they're going to give them A&M and Oklahoma.
Yep.
And they want to play those two games. Do they give them Mississippi State or somebody that's not – who else do they give them? So that's the part where I'm like, all right, yeah, of course you're gonna cater to them, because of course you have.
They have so far, for sure.
They have.
Let's go to the other side of the ball, Blake, before I let you go. Yep. Hey, LSU's been doing a good job of it this week, putting Jack Pyburn in all the graphics.
You're the third Florida media person that's told me that this week.
So, hey, but give us an update.
Just wait until tomorrow.
Some video or something, I'm assuming?
I don't know. I'm not getting in trouble. Okay. I'm not getting my credential pulled.
Okay, here we go. Hey, but give us an update. Jack Pyburn's there now in Baton Rouge. Akeem Jackson as well, two former Gators that are now Tigers. What type of impacts can we expect from those guys so far?
quickly through Jackson, probably none, unless he gets some rotational stuff.
He was injured, right?
Yeah, he was injured, but man, it's either been. But I'll give him this: when he's on there, he's freaky, man. I mean, he's freaky. He can't stay on the field. I mean, he was the one that blew the coverage last week that LSU gave up their first points. I got to give Jack this, Dave. I mean, God, Lord, he's just been so good in the run game, and they've taken him out on some pass downs. What I'll give him credit for. Listen, man, he generated a lot of pressure versus Clemson. A lot. He got a sack last week. He's looked really good the first 2 weeks. That's why he's on the field. He's been really good. Defensively, I got to give him this, though. That defensive line's just different. Yep. It's just different. And Patrick Payton's been really good. So the thing is just, man, that you got a couple of pair of five-star guys in the interior. Now they're starting to grow up. Don McKinley's been massive for them. Hey, stars, I guess, do matter sometimes. So, I mean, they've been really good there. This is the first time they're facing a physical rushing attack. They faced speed the first 2 weeks. Now, when you got somebody that wants to punch you in the mouth, how do you react to it?
Good point. Good point there. And, of course, got to circle him. Harold Perkins, a lot of questions coming into the season. Hey, is Star going to be a good move for him? Why are they playing him there? And we got our answer pretty much week one. So what have you seen from him bouncing back a little bit, kind of, I won't necessarily say shedding the question so far, but in a way he's back in the spotlight and with the spotlight on, doing some things.
Dave, I mean, he was the talk of camp, man, because of all the plays he was making. He's a hybrid with speed. I mean, I do think Lagway's going to have to identify him.
Yep.
What LSU has done, is they've sent Perkins and Patrick Payton on the same side and making Payton either go up against the guard or they shoot, or the O-line, what we used to call butterflies out, and then Perkins gets on a guard. What's the problem has been is because they don't know when Harold's coming, Patrick Payton's been on a guard. And those problems, a guard with that athletic ability and pass rush hasn't held up. So the emergence of Patrick Payton, ironically, has made Harold go all over the place. And then he's just a really good athlete. So been really good in coverage, and he's just going to come a lot. They're going to send that star position a lot, and you just have to get ready for it because he's going to blitz all night, man.
Blake, with another year under Blake Baker, what have you seen? Like from afar from me, and trying to compare it, it definitely seems like some more confidence that's leading to more aggression. From a base level, that's what I see.
Yeah, Dave, what I'd say is basically just that they feel like that they can man up at corner, and so now he's rolling with it, right? And so they're going full speed ahead in reference to sending the ungodly amount of pressure because of Mansour Delane, because of PJ Woodland and those guys that they have in that corner room, and the five-star DJ Pickett, the true freshman. So LSU has not been doing anything special, Dave. I know it seems like maybe defensively they have, but they're just going to rush, and they're going to play man coverage across the board, and that's basically what they've been doing. But the back end has been the reason why they've been sending so much pressure.
All right. Well, it looks like my camera has frozen up. So
Uh-oh.
I was trying to fix it for a second, but at least you can hear me. So
I can't hear you. I can't hear you. It's just that it looks like you're mad at the world and the still.
It does. I don't know. That was a good freeze frame there a little bit. At least I'm looking at camera, but I'm stuck there. There we go. At least try that now and see if we can get a reset there. But
yes, indeed.
Blake, getting back to the, we'll wrap it up right here. You've talked about the game all week on your show. Where do you see? You don't have to know, like I said, didn't do much on your show last night either as far as the score prediction goes, but I assume leaning LSU. But of course, I think win or loss. Give me the scenario. What does a win do? What does a loss do?
A win. By the way, I say 24-21 LSU. I think it's really low scoring. I think a field goal maybe wins it late. A win, Dave, you're undefeated in the month of September for the first time since 2019. And The question that you have to start asking yourself here, there you go. There
we
it
go.
is.
I'm back.
If you go into Ole Miss and you win, hypothetically speaking, which will be your next toughest game, got A&M at home. You have a lot of big games at home. You start asking the question, David, are you a playoff team? You beat Florida this week. All right, LSU might be they're going to have to Alabama themselves, which they can, and lose three of the next 9 games. Dave, that's where I think it really turns to, because even if you go on the road at Bama and lose, even if you go into Oklahoma and lose, you're right there. So I think that's what it does. I think there's going to be a lot of panic if you lose, even though you'd be 2-1, just because of the fact that offensively you've looked so bad. Oh, no. I'm going to tell you what the talking point is going to be. You squandered a generational offense with Jane Daniels, and now you're squandering what could be a really, really dang good defense, and you can't do anything offensively. That will be the chatter. It's not that you can't go to the playoff, but listen, just because Florida lost to South Florida last week does not mean that this one isn't massive to LSU too, because it's absolutely humongous, because you got Southeastern Louisiana next week. Shout out to the Lions. So, Dave, I mean, it's a big one to kind of pace your season here of where you want to go.
Yeah, I mean, the win built some equity. Like you said, you can maybe afford to drop a couple. But
well, I'm trying to think outside of South Florida. I mean, I know Florida's not technically ranked this week. At least, are they? They're not ranked this week in the AP, are they?
No.
In my mind, it's like beating 2 ranked opponents in a way. Like, all right, well, it's just a big one, because you're going to overcome a lot of your things. And I think the same for Florida. David, here's the ironic thing. I think both teams are in a lot of the same positions. Just so happened Florida lost last week and LSU held on.
Yeah.
I mean,
I get you.
It's a lot of the same things. I think they're really even in a lot of areas. I hate keep coming on here telling you that and then saying, hey man, this one's going to be close. But I genuinely believe that from a talent aspect.
But Blake, I see it, because I think the strategy is kind of the same for both teams. You got inconsistent quarterbacks right now. Both, even Lagway, who was an explosive quarterback, can't hit the explosives right now. So I think both quarterbacks have to get rid of the ball pretty fast, because I think both defenses are going to be attacking. And that's the story of the game for me. I think it's the same for both teams.
Can Garrett Nussmeier use his experience more than the experience that DJ Lagway has?
And home field advantage. For all there's been talk this week for Florida's offensive line not living up to expectations so far, and talking about communication and all that stuff. Well, you will figure that out in Death Valley Saturday night. Okay.
No, I think that place will be loud and packed.
Right. So,
I mean, man, they say Bootsy's making an appearance. So, brother, I'm just telling you, it ain't good when Bootsy's in town.
Well, the thing was, I said there was probably a lot of plans for this game, because it was first SEC game. Florida's going to be 2-0 coming in. Well, okay, never mind. But you're still out getting rid of your tickets. Yeah, all the plans you still made a couple months ago are still there. So I expect it to still be a raucous atmosphere.
It was sold out by Tuesday.
Yeah.
And you know how it is. I mean, it's sold out. I'm like, oh. Last time this happened, the last time I felt this way from a fan base, I mean this, the last time that they reacted like this was 2022 Alabama, when they upset Alabama in Tiger Stadium. I'm dead serious. Like, I can't think of another home game that's been even Alabama last year, Dave. It was raining and fans didn't really show up like that. You had already had 3 losses, or you're already had 2 losses. No, this one's the one, man. I'm telling you.
All right, there we go. Blake Ruffino, Are You Serious Sports? Hoping the Gators take it serious there Saturday night as they go to Death Valley. Blake, man, hey, thank you so much once again, man.
Anytime, man. Thank you for having me.
All right, see ya. Blake Ruffino, everybody. Good stuff as always with him. We'll keep this episode going. My prediction, my kind of breakdown as we go into it. But before we get there, the Gators looked rough last weekend. I know. Hopefully they turn it around. I'm getting my house turned around soon. Because you know what looks rough in my house? I got those popcorn cylinders, those things so outdated, but hey, we're getting it fixed. Big home remodel year for the Waters residents, and one more thing we got to do. Get rid of those popcorn ceilings. Well, I'm partnering with Gator Drywall of Duval. They're helping me out here. Been transforming Jacksonville homes for over 25 years. I got them scheduled to come and modernize my ceilings pretty soon. And what makes Gator Drywall special is the family atmosphere. Brandon and his crew, they treat every project like they're working on their own home. True professionals, handling everything from new construction to repairs, drywall installation, finishing, texturing, and yes, popcorn ceiling removal that I can't wait to experience. Gator Drywall of Duval takes care of every detail from start to finish. No headaches, no surprises, quality craftsmanship that'll make you proud of your home again. I'll be sharing before and afters when they finish my place. And if you've been staring at those dated ceilings for too long, it's time to call the experts at Gator Drywall of Duval. 904-793-2088. GatorDrywallofDuval.com. If you're in the Northeast Florida area, give them a call. All right, let's get to it. Let's get to it right here. We kind of heard from Blake a little bit there, but what is LSU? What is LSU? Got his perspective on the team. If we zoom out and get a opposing side, a national view, of course, they beat Clemson. That team last week, that same Clemson team, struggled last week versus Troy. And at the same time, LSU struggled last week against Louisiana Tech in a 23-7 win. So what is LSU? Great, really good second half against Clemson. But when we ask, what LSU is, we go to Clemson, we ask, what is Clemson right now? I still think it's a good win. That's still a hard place to go win. They're in the Orange Death Valley up there in South Carolina. So, both struggled a week after their big matchup, LSU and Clemson, and maybe expected in some ways because sandwiched in between big matchups. LSU's got Florida, Clemson's got Georgia Tech. So that was their first big, that's kind of the only thing we have to go by right now. Only 2 games. Most teams have played one strong team, one cupcake. We're all mostly going to concentrate on the strong game. And LSU went to Clemson and got a win. As you heard Blake say, Florida, LSU, right now it is tied 34-3. Of course, Florida won last year, 27-16 in Gainesville. LSU won 3 straight against Florida in Tiger Stadium. Overall, LSU has won 5 of the past 6 meetings. LSU, of course, is 2-1 versus Florida with Brian Kelly leading the charge. LSU right now remaining number 3 in the AP poll and number 4 in the coaches poll with their win over La Tech. Florida unranked but has, been ranked as high as 13 last week before the loss to USF. LSU is 20-2 in Tiger Stadium under Brian Kelly, which ties for the best record in first 22 games of any coach in program history. LSU has won 5 games in a row, with their last loss coming to Florida last year. A victory would signify as Florida's. If Florida gets a win here, would be Florida's first road win versus an AP top 3 team since September 21st, 1996, when Florida beat number 2 Tennessee on the road. Been forever. Almost 30 years since Florida's beat a AP top 3 team on the road. An unranked Florida team has once beaten an AP number 3 team on the road, topping Bear Bryant's Alabama 1963 team 10-6. The Gators have never defeated an LSU team ranked in the AP top 3. That was in 1958, 1959, and 2007 and 2011. So, haven't done it yet. Most recent one's 2007, 2011. The LSU team that have been ranked in the top 3. Florida's never defeated one. This is only the second time, the last one being in 1958, that an unranked Florida team is visiting a top 5 LSU team in Death Valley. So, go to the LSU offense a bit. You heard us talk about Garrett Nussmeier and all that and what he brings to the table. And it was good stuff there by Blake. And you heard us talk about it. It's still the questions about explosivity in this offense. And we know we've heard co-host Will Miles talk about it all summer about kind of just a safe approach there from Garrett Nussmeier. And I do believe in this game. It's going to take Nussmeier and or Lagway for one of those guys to break out this year and hit some explosive plays. I do think that's, besides the run game a bit, I think which quarterback can hit explosives. It may not be many. But the down and the distance and the time left in the game, I think there's going to be a play that has to be made. It's going to have to be made by one of these quarterbacks. And, I think with Lagway, we saw it in a more consistent basis last year, more so than we saw with Nussmeier. So does he have that in him there and helping him out there? You heard us talk about him, Barion, Brown, Aaron Anderson. They've played a big role in LSU's offensive output so far. They've combined for 27 receptions for 291 yards. And you heard me talk about earlier the breaking the tackle aspect of both these guys. Of their 291 yards, 170 have come after the catch. Anderson leads the Tigers with 14 receptions for 172 yards. 97 of those 172 yards are coming after the catch. Brown has 13 catches for 119 yards, and 73 of those have come following the reception. In 2 games, the LSU receivers have accounted for 210 yards after the catch. 104 versus Clemson and 106 versus Louisiana Tech. So that's what you got to get. That's what the challenge is for the Gator defense. Florida gave up 201 yards after the catch last week to USF, all while playing the soft coverage. So that needs to get remedied. And if you're going to play the soft coverage, you better tackle. Florida not so good of a job of that last week. That needs to get remedied this week against Brown and Anderson. But, talking about it, I do think LSU will stick a bit with the safe passing game until they see if Florida can pressure. I think last year's game will still be in their head. Caleb Banks coming back, of course, to be in their head. And this is a worse offensive line. Good point there by Blake, better at center, but it's still retooled up there. So I think they play it safe to start with. So that's where I go back to tackle and tackle and tackle. Don't give up anything easy. And Nussmeier has lived up so far to being pretty conservative. So continue to make him live in that world. So far, LSU's offense looks like last year versus Florida. Piling up yards, but not really cashing in. LSU has been in the red zone 8 times these first 2 games and have come away with 4 touchdowns and having to settle for field goals on 3 occasions and then turning the ball over on another. The return of Caleb Banks. Big story here. Question is, can he be a force right away? Missed some time, missed the first couple of games, lingering issue, missed some time in fall camp. Is he conditioned? Is he ready to go right away? Some of the bigger gains of the season, have actually come on the ground for LSU. 48-yard rush by wide receiver Xavier Thomas. 43-yard rush by Harlan Berry. 24-yard run by Caden Durham. With that, though, the LSU ground attack, you heard us talk about, is it consistent? So you just don't want to give up the explosives. You want to be able to tackle. Caden Durham, look, he's better. He shouldn't be held to 29 yards on 13 carries against La Tech. Outside of 2 explosive runs that gave LSU a total of 91 yards, the running game had just 64 yards on 29 carries last week, 2.2 yards a carry. Berry did have the longest run by a running back of this early season when he broke a tackle, changed direction, got upfield, 43 yards. That was late in the game against La Tech last week. But it's not just that with Banks and his return. He's one of the best interior pass rushers in the game. And that's what, the Florida defensive line, while I've been playing good, I still think they've been missing that. Someone that could command double teams, someone that can pressure up the middle. And while I like what I've seen from the defensive line without him, it's time for a difference maker. Create the pressure up the middle, feed the quarterback to the edges if so. And hopefully this is kind of the turning point of the Florida pass rush, Florida creating havoc. Because we haven't seen the havoc or pass rush we expected to see so far this season. This style of offense with LSU, we'll see if the Gator defense can find those aspects. Man, nose ditching. Ooh, But you don't have to worry about the quarterback run as much as you had to the first couple of weeks. That should lend itself into being more aggressive up front, but need to finish what you get in the backfield. I think it'll be there just because of the matchup, but we got to see it. And I think Caleb Banks returning is a big part of that. Some notes from friend of the program, Bud Davis. LSU's 60% passing team with 71% of the personnel usage in 11 personnel and using lots of motion. Run game focuses on the interior with inside zone and power, and the passing game relies on curls, digs, and checkdowns, and that's kind of lends itself to the conservative nature so far of the LSU offense. Now let's go to the other side in the LSU defense. In 2 games this year, through 19 opponent drives, LSU's defense has limited opponents to only 3 scoring drives, 2 touchdowns and 1 field goal on 19 possessions. LSU's defense went 5 consecutive quarters without allowing a point before Louisiana Tech scored in the 4th quarter last week. LSU's defense has limited opponents to 8.5 points a game. That's Clemson and La Tech. 44.5 rushing yards a game and 163 total yards a game. They have also held opponents to only 6 of 26 on 3rd down. So they're flying around, getting in the backfield, aggressive nature. You know, wherever the ball is, they're attacking it, applying consistent pressure on the 2 offenses they've faced so far. Through 2 games, LSU has 11 pass breakups, 9 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, 1 interception, and 8 quarterback hurries. So we saw last week Florida struggled up front against a fast and aggressive style of USF. This is a better version of a fast, aggressive defense. So whatever you got to figure out this week, figure it out. Got linebacker Wes Weeks. Also, you heard us talk about some key players for the LSU defense earlier. Wes Weeks right now leads the Tigers in tackles with 15. Career best 10 versus Louisiana Tech last week. You know, so just Florida passing attack, just not in sync right now. Lagway in the offensive line, not consistent. I haven't seen receivers get enough separation consistently. Now, I think the time for Lagway to process isn't going to be there. So I think we need to see more of a quick passing attack, going about what Blake and I talked about earlier. Help the offensive line. And I think it can help Lagway too. Not have to think as much. Thinking pre-snap. You got to be confident in what you're seeing pre-snap. I think this can help the quarterback as long as he's confident in what he sees. And that's a must, especially with the man coverage LSU's go play. Or go play you man-to-man. So these receivers and Lagway need to be on the same page, need to take advantage of those situations. We like the speed Florida can show at the receiver spot. If LSU's go play man, you got to make them pay. They feel confident about manning up, though. They should. But that means there's going to be chances. Make it happen. But that's how I get the passing game going. Be conservative with it to begin with, because I still think this game's going to come down to Florida's ability to run the ball. Of course, it's a great game plan on the road, try and take the crowd out of it. And I still think it can be more of an asset until Lagway comes around. Maybe this is a game it clicks for Lagway. Maybe this is where he finds it. But for me, rely on the run game till you see that maybe Lagway has it. Maybe he proves it to you early. I don't know. I just think the way the game may go, it might take some time. But it's time for this offensive line to live up to the expectation in both areas. Run blocking, pass blocking, but most importantly for me, run blocking. Be the unit I thought you could be, and that'll keep Florida in this game. And then maybe pair it with a quick passing game, and I hope in turn it eventually opens up some shots down the field. I think Florida's going to have to run their way to a successful passing game, not the other way around. LSU has only allowed 2 drives inside the red zone all season. And then you go, Florida had 3 drives in the red zone against USF last week. Now, they all ended up in points, but field goals. 2 of them ended up in field goals. I think there are matchups in this game that make it a close game. You just heard Blake and I talk. It's kind of both teams in kind of a similar spot a little bit. The conservative nature of LSU's offense, what I still think is a good Florida defense, I think keeps this game close. But I don't see Florida taking advantage enough. Just too many things not going smoothly right now to I think that you figure it out on the road. To me, that's a lot to ask. Death Valley at night with some of these questions that we have, I just don't think it fixes itself. Both teams will ugly it up, but LSU comes away with a 27-17 victory. And I want to be wrong. But from what I've seen, I got to go with LSU right now. I think they ugly it up. Both teams ugly it up. But I think LSU's just got a little bit more answers right now. You're crazy to think about how differently I see this game from just a couple of weeks ago because it was, hey, all these transfers for LSU on that defense and how fast will it gel? The offensive line. That's why I think it kind of stays close. Those questions for LSU still remain. Up front, offensive line. Can Garrett Nussmeier take the next step? All that against a good Florida defense. That's why I think keeps it close. LSU just makes more plays in the fourth quarter. All right, everybody. Good stuff. Thanks to Blake one more time for hopping in here for another Florida LSU preview. Be sure to listen to the last episode of Gators Breakdown. We kind of made the transition there with Sponge, talking big picture and LSU stuff. Focused on the Gators with Alex Shepard, some more big picture talk as well. But there we go. Hopefully the Gators be cheering them on. It's been ugly this week, I know. But I'm still going to sit there and cheer that team on Saturday night when they're in Death Valley right there, hoping the Gators come home with the victory. That'll do it for this episode of Gators Breakdown. I am your host, David Waters. You can find me on social media at GatorDave_SEC. Guys and girls out there, thank you for joining me on this episode of Gators Breakdown.